Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulihi Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een amma ba'd fa'a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim bismillahir rahmanir rahim al-yawma akmaltu lakum deenakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati wa raditu lakum al-islam deena wa qala ta'ala ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ati'u allaha wa ati'u ar-rasula wa ulil amri minkum فإن تنازعتم في شيء فردوا إلى الله والرسول إن كنتم تؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر ذلك خير وأحسن تأويلا. So inshallah, in these 2 days I'm going to teach basic details about Ijma and Qiyas and something about Ijtihad, inshallah ta'ala. And what I'm going to teach, it is mostly based on the earlier sources. Of course, no doubt, examples from Muwatta of Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala, and also Kitab al-Athar of Abu Hanif, by his students Imam Muhammad of Yusuf, or some of the writings of Imam Muhammad. These things will be there, inshallah. And in the usul al-fiqh, one of the most important source that I used is al-Risala of Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah ta'ala. Then after that, in Hanafi madhhab, I have used al-fusul fil usul by Jassas, Abu Bakr al-Jassas al-Razi, one of the earliest Hanafi jurist, who basically, alongside with his teacher Abu al-Hasan al-Qarqi, these are people who actually made Hanafi madhhab. So Jassas al-Razi is very, very important in Hanafi madhhab, and his book actually should be studied anyway. So this is one of the source. Similarly, in Shafi madhhab, I also used the book of al-Irshad al-Taqrib by al-Baqillani. So Baqillani is one of the earliest jurists who wrote on usul al-fiqh. So his book. Similarly, I have used Ibn Hazm al-Zahiri, his al-Muhalla, the Muqaddimah, and he has a book on usul al-fiqh, al-Ihkam. I used al-Ihkam of Ibn Hazm as well. And something from Mustasfa al-Ghazali, very little, but something from Imam al-Haramain, just some arguments. And also I have used something from Ash-Shawkani, Irshad al-Fuhul. So these are the sources which I have used, and then my own thinking and understanding, of these concepts. While doing research, I realize really there are few problems I would like to start with before teaching this concept. The first thing is, no doubt really, it is very important that you people have come to learn these important concepts of usul fiqh, because it's very important. People should learn really these things. What Ijma is, what Qiyas is. Why I'm saying this is because the study of these concepts actually suffer from some problems in the Western universities and also in the madrasat, Islamic centers of learning. In the Western universities, actually what happening is, most of the time, and instead of understanding these concepts properly, what jurists have been doing, what really exactly they do, most time they spend about the historical development and all those things, and very little to understand really what these concepts are. So people who study in these universities among the Muslims, when they want to help Islamic law or Islamic fiqh, what they do, they already have got a good understanding of the Western law. So they know Western law, and especially for example in the finance, they have good knowledge. So when they come to Islamic fiqh, what they do, whenever they find any similarity between what actually is Western law and between any detail of Islamic law, they become excited. And and they think really that something similar has been said by some jurists in the past. And then basically what they do, what they have learned in the West, they want to apply that to Islam. It's because basically it's Western ideas, but Islamic clothes. Just basically they get some Islamic terms, terminologies, and they use them. They have not fully understood really what Islamic law is. And second problem really is, what happens is, it is going to harmful. Because if you don't understand and then you teach that this is what Islam says, it is going to harm. And I'll explain in more detail what harm will happen. So this actually what happened in Western studies of usul al-fiqh and everything, no doubt. The problem in the madrasas is because Islamic law is not in practice. People don't see it. So people at the madrasas, when they study these concepts, it is to them not relevant. They don't see the relevance. So it is something many people just pass exam. They very, very difficult for them to understand really what are difference between one concept to another concept, what the similarities are there. So these people, similarly, when, they come to any field to help people in the modern time in fatwa or maybe in Islamic finance, they again, what happens very quickly, they give fatwa by any similarity, by anything that found really, which can help them, rather going in detail. So both of these people really, they harming Islamic fiqh, as we see soon, inshallah, they harming, in many, many ways. One thing is very important to understand, that the guidance only can work if it is understood properly and if it is conveyed properly. If people change it, it's no more guidance. The change that happens is actually a result of two things. Either intention is wrong, you don't want to be guided. You basically just, because you think really there are a big Muslim population, they only will be happy if you use Islamic terms, Islamic fatwa. So you basically want to teach them something alien by using Islamic names, so you can persuade them, you can basically convince them. So your intention never has been pure, never has been guidance. Your intention has been basically to corrupt. You got certain idea in your mind and you want to use this Quran and Sunnah to support that. So when the intention is wrong, it never can be right. It's impossible. So the first major problem for both sides actually, for Western scholars and for scholars in madrasas, is the intention not right. When intention not right, it could be many, many reasons really. Sometimes you want to work for certain people, like in the West, like medical doctors, people who research in medicine, because they work for certain companies. So their intention really to support their ideas, whether it is harming the people's health or benefiting, don't care. So that is the intention. So similarly, when people work for certain groups, the intention to find proof for them. So for the example, if there is any project, big project by any major bank, they want to make some Islamic products, you working for them. Your intention purely is to find arguments and evidence from the Quran and Sunnah and from Islamic sources to support that. And I've seen really people do these things. So, one of the major problems is because you don't really want to be guided. Your whole intention is to get support for something which you already believe in. And sometimes actually it could be madhhab, school. Because for example, I'm Hanafi or Maliki or Shafi or Hanbali. To me really what concerns more is my school. Not exactly really to make effort to understand what Quran and Sunnah saying, how they guide. It could be possible that in past when Hanafi madhab, has an opinion, it was useful for the people of certain time and certain region. But now maybe that opinion Hanafi madhab is not relevant to the people. Maybe opinion for other madhab is more relevant to the people. But this is not my intention. My intention not to guide the people. My intention not to find the truth. My intention not to help the people. My intention rather really is sectarian. My own madhab, my own school. Sometimes about elders and sometimes this thing. There are many, many things. Sometimes our identity. We believe in certain things and we want to go along with that. So these are the major problems which are there really. And I was really, I mentioned yesterday in Oxford class as well, that last week, Ustad, Nouman Ali Khan, most of you must be knowing him. So, in 1 month earlier, he came, and studied something about riba, and I explained to him in much detail. Then he sent a video of someone, big scholar from Pakistan, who explains, riba in a very different way. So when I heard this, he asked me my opinion. So I found really big mistakes. And the problem really is confusion between different concepts. Because in Islam, what is riba, if people don't understand properly, they can connect it to different chapters. For example, in Islam, you have chapter of the buying and selling, ijara, renting, buying and selling when you sell the item itself, ijara when you sell the utility, not the item itself. So you have you have buy, you have ijara, then you have basically business when you have like partnership, musharaka, mudaraba. Then you also have some charity, like we have qard, you borrow from some And one of the type of qard also is ariya. You have ariya, and things like that. Sadaqah. Riba, if people don't understand really, they can connect riba to any of these chapters. When you connect riba to the chapter of ijara, it basically will become something different. Then implication basically will be what is halal become haram, and many haram will become halal, because you are connected to a chapter, a different chapter. If you connect it to chapter of qard, it will be different. If you connect it to chapter of the bay'ah, it will be different. It depends really how you understand these things. So that's a problem. Not only him really. I found actually many problems. Many people who have studied riba, somebody who was doing PhD in Oxford, I found really that when they're studying riba, they really don't understand which chapter of the fiqh it belongs to. If you don't understand this thing, what will happen is you keep doing mistake. You can also argue that the Muslim scholars who actually make riba connected to certain chapters, maybe they are wrong. It could be possible. But first you try to understand them. Try to understand what exactly they say. The problem really, many people don't understand what they're saying. They try to understand why they're saying something, what the Quran and Sunnah says. It must be understood properly. One of the things I encourage, all of you, there are very few women today, more men. Though last week we have been hearing, about question about women, more women and less men. But actually the thing is, usul fiqh is not so difficult as people think. It is just, if everybody's got a mind, you need to, it is more thinking and understanding. It is basically no doubt tiring. It is hard work. You don't enjoy it so much. You force yourself. Maybe after a while you start enjoying when it becomes your habit. But people really need to work hard, because most of the time, this is the problem. One problem I mentioned is intention. Second problem is laziness. People don't do research properly. Meaning is, people don't collect the data. And I've seen really, supervising, some PhD students, what happens, people are very lazy and they just want to get degree. So they don't do research properly. Little information, and they want to make some theories, some generalization, and that is a big problem for, that basically is corruption of the research. That's what happens is. Like for example, one example I get yesterday in the class is, and it is very easy to understand. For example, many people will say that women in Islam basically are half of the men. And the argument will be, because you can see, two women in witness are equal to one man. And they also can see the share of the women in inheritance is half of the share of the men. So it means women are half of the men in Islam. So this what we say actually is, it is very, very poor research. Because even in inheritance, it is not that women all the time get half of the share of the men. Women actually sometimes get more than the men. Sometimes women get equal of the men. So first you have to understand this thing. Second, even in witness, it is one particular witness where women basically need support. But otherwise, there are so many types of witness where they don't need support. There is witness equal to the witness of the men, and sometimes their witness is preferred over the witness of the men. That I explained last week, in detail. Then, if you do research properly, look at rulings about the women everywhere else. When men pray Zuhr 4 rakah, do women need to do 8 rakah? No, it is same. 4 rakah. Men have to fast 1 month. Do the women need to fast more than 1 month? No, it is same month. Men have to pay their zakat 2.5%. Do women need to pay more than or less? No, it is same payment. Hajj is obligatory on the men, same on the women. Is there any difference between the Hajj of the men and women? When men do wudu, it is same wudu, washing the 4 parts. If you follow the Sunnah, meaning wudu of men and women, it is same thing. Tawaf of the men and women is same thing. Sa'i of the men and women is same thing. Then come to the punishment. It is same thing. If a man steals, same punishment. If a woman steals, same punishment. If the man does zina, it is same punishment. If the woman does zina, it is same punishment. When they lie, it is same problem. When they honest, same thing. If a man teaches, it is same teaching. If a woman teaches, same thing. There is no difference between men's teaching and women's teaching. Collect hundreds of examples. Then you'll see really, actually, men and women, both are the same. It is only few things where they differ. What is the reason then? But if you just take those 2 examples and you generalize them, then what the problem will happen. So many people don't make proper effort to understand the concept, what Islam is teaching. And you need really a proper research. Much deeper research, going to examples clearly, collecting the information as much as possible. Otherwise, you meet one or two people from India and generalize that, Indian people are stupid or something like that. So, I will not be happy because, I will think, no, you do not study properly. You do need to do more research. This thing, try to understand really. We can't expect from the many Western people to do this because they don't have any in this attachment to Islam. But Muslims should do. But the problem really in the universities mostly that people's intention really is not to do research properly. Their intention is something else. Their intention, the degree, certificate, the job, requirements of the job. I know really one of the top men in Western academy from a Muslim, and he writes, and he doesn't write actually exactly as it should be from Muslim. So he explained to me the reason is, in that job, I understand, that, if he writes like a Muslim, he will lose his job. So he has to pretend, his neutrality and objectivity. Objectivity basically means that you don't support Islam. In every single thing, if you're a mathematician, then objectivity really is to be excited for your field and to support that. That's what objectivity is, except Islam. If you are Hinduism, enjoy every part of the Hinduism, means you get a great scholar. For Christianity, the same thing. But in Islam, objectivity really is to criticize Islam. So that's what many people think. So, you can see, so how can you expect something good from those scholars who are studying for the sake of the job or for the sake of their position? You can't expect it. But people think, it is somebody Muslim and this and that, and we do anyway. So these problems I mentioned really are very serious problems. We don't have proper, neither Muslim Western scholars, neither Muslim Eastern scholars, not people from the madrasat and not people from the universities who really have effort to understand this concept properly. When you study usul al-fiqh or anything in Islam, you need few things to do properly. One thing is try to understand these concepts as they have been explained and understood by the people who basically made them. So like if you want to know, Ijma, Qiyas, the first step really is try to understand what they mean by that. What they're teaching us. What Imam Shafi want to teach us, what Ibn Hazm al-Zahiri want to teach us, what Hanafi people want to teach, what they want to teach us. So first understand their concept properly, whatever they teach. First learn, like in Bukhari, if you learn a hadith, first learn really what Bukhari is doing. What hadith in Bukhari, why the chapter heading, what exactly he does. Second step will be after that really is, what is the wisdom? Okay, after all this, what we get from that? If we learn Ijma as Jassas al-Radi is teaching us, if we learn Qiyas as Imam Shafi teaches, what do we get from that? What the purpose behind that? Why they want to teach us something like that? Is there anything is any help from that? Second step is this. The first step is try to understand them what they're doing. Second thing is try to understand the purpose behind that, what they're doing. Then the third thing is, do they have any argument for that? Do they have any argument when they teach certain concept? What their arguments is? Do they agree? Do they differ? If they differ, who actually is more right? Whose arguments are much better? You have to understand, this thing. Then it is the third step. Then the fourth step really is to try to understand, is it really the best way? The purpose that they have in mind really, are these concepts, the way they explain, are they more helpful? Is there any other way to do the same thing and much better, much easier? It's all human knowledge. Can we improve it? Can we improve the techniques? Can we make better? Because you have to present, you have to all the time keep testing your techniques. Because in your world, with the competition, so you have to basically compete. We compete against Muslims and against non-Muslims. So you have to keep testing really. Are there something? And then actually on the top of that is mistakes. Because when these people, earlier people, they develop these concepts, certainly they have done mistakes. Because they are not prophets and messengers. If they differ from each other, it means they don't agree. They find the mistakes of each other. What are the mistakes? These things are important to understand. And actually the last point, that actually the very least understood. People are very, very basically very less keen to find any, actually not even find a mistake. If somebody finds it, they're very less keen to accept that. And that actually very harmful. I'll tell you why harmful. For example, when you learn a language, it all qiyas. Language basically, I'll come to that, it's just qiyas. It's analogy basically. You don't learn all the sentences that you're going to use in your life. You learn some sentences and then you basically produce your own sentence in the light what you learn. So language basically based on the qiyas. Basic example. When a child learns language, he does qiyas. But sometimes he does mistake. He does mistake in the qiyas. So what happens is, people's use will make his qiyas left out. Nobody is going to follow his qiyas. People will know really it is mistake. So his mistakes will never be followed. It will finish. So when any actually big writer, even Ibn Taymiyyah, sometimes did a mistake in the language, nobody follows, because people could see easily it is a mistake. So people do mistakes in the language. What happens is you don't follow them; they're left out. So people use it, all those things easily. Similarly, for example, anything like building. I'm good engineer from India. I built Taj Mahal. Then I come and apply the same wisdom to build a good building in this country. Things are different. The weather is different, and everything so much different. It could be possible that I'm a great man, to build something in India. But when I built here, people could see the problem. So what will happen is, after a while, they discover the problem in my building. They're not going to follow me. So my mistakes will not be followed, because people's experience will let the people know that actually it has problem. It mistakes. If somebody sews a cloth, if he does mistake, so very quickly people comparing with other tailors, they will know the mistake. So nobody is going to follow the mistake. They will leave it out. That happens in every single field. In every single field, experts and big people, they do mistakes in every field. Mistakes are there. But what happens is, because people's experience and and knowledge and all those things, people can see really the problem. So those mistakes are left out. Nobody follows the people in the mistakes. So all the time, people keep improving and purify the concept from those mistakes. This is something which did not happen in Islamic fiqh. The reason is people's qiyas, their thinking, their ideas, even their presentation, they became sacred. So you study them as something sacred. You don't think really that a possible mistake, and let's leave out and move on. If Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah says something, you study it is something sacred. If Imam Malik says something, you study it as sacred. So the problem remains that Abu Hanifa's mistakes are followed for 400 years. It will be followed. Imam Shafi's mistakes will be followed by his followers until the day of Qiyamah, because we take them as something sacred. We are not thinking that human mind, they can do mistakes, and they have done mistakes. We don't do these things. These problems are very serious problems. If one way basically is you people just want to learn something basic concept and pass the exam. If that is the purpose, then I don't really need to explain all those things. But my really thinking is we need really some good scholars, some people who can think and they can help this religion serve properly. So keep this mind really that it is really it is important for us to find the truth. It also very important to us to know the mistakes. It has same importance. If you don't find the mistakes will be followed. And then actually corruption will remain in the society. And corruption will remain really, it will not be helpful for anybody. People need to know the mistakes. And you only can know if you follow all those steps I mentioned properly. To understand what they say, understand the purpose behind that, understand their arguments, understand really is there any techniques better than that to use find the same thing. And the last one is to find their mistakes. What mistakes they have done. Once you have done this thing, then you really can be helpful for the people. And not only that, there are actually even people who are not Muslims, they will benefit from you. So these are the things. It is, for example, if Ibn Hajar al-Ghahiri says something, mostly, because I'm from madrasa, if I criticize the madrasa, I know what happens. If Ibn Hajar al-Ghahiri will say something, leave him, it is his Zahiri. Without thinking, understanding what he said, does it make sense or not, could it be helpful for us? If something helps, people don't do this in the money. If somebody says you have a shop really, but I have got, somebody from Oxford, he has more experience. Maybe he's not a Muslim, he's not this, but he can teach you how to earn more money. Bring him, I want to learn from him. When money comes, you don't have any madhhab, no religion, no maslak, nothing really, no identity, nothing to follow. You want to learn from everybody's experience. But when it comes, Islam, then Ibn Hazm al-Zahiri, Imam Shafi, the Shafi'i, Muwatta, the Maliki book, and this book, you never learn. You remain really in the same process. Actually, not only that, even become more and more narrow. I'm Deobandi, so I'm this Deobandi, I'm that Deobandi. It remains like that. My elders and this and that. And somebody has written a long email to me, and people keep writing to me all the time anyway. But but just, I don't understand really. Some people think that they criticize me and they say something bad to me, so they'll get reward. And I think I get reward. So, somebody written a long email, criticizing me very heavily that, why I criticize the Deobandi people and these people and that people, all these things, unnecessary problem against me. So it is this thing really. People have made certain things sacred. So if somebody criticizes without understanding really, is criticism based on something, valid or not. It helpful for you. If somebody criticizes you, be positive. Learn from that. So anyway, this was actually something I wanted to say in the beginning. So inshallah, when I teach you, it will be helpful because, as you will see really, I'm not going to teach you the concepts as they are only. I'm not going to explain that, but I'm going to criticize also very heavily that, the problems with that, mistakes in that. Not necessarily that what I say is more right. It is basically to train you to think like that, to take it more critically. It could be possible that what I said doesn't make sense to you, to find something better. But understanding and thinking is very, very important in this matter. The first thing I am going to teach you is Ijma. And Ijma really is the one thing which has been misunderstood. Actually, not only Ijma and Qiyas both have been misunderstood by the people. And the problem really lies is, it was, you get guidance from the Quran and Sunnah, and then Ijma and Qiyas also help you, if the purpose is guidance. But when Islam became theology, and kalam came in there really, the purpose completely changed really. The purpose basically becomes something else. What was Ijma in the time of Abu Hanifa and Malik and these people, Ijma later on became something else. What was Qiyas in the time of those people, it became something else. Whatever the tools used to understand the Quran and Sunnah in the earlier period, the tools have been changed. And that's what usul fiqh is. Usul fiqh is actually those tools which help you how to understand the rulings from the Quran and Sunnah. If the tools have been changed, certainly it will affect. But problem really is to understand really what exactly the real tools are. So this also, I will tell you in detail. So Ijma anyway, Ijma has a problem and Qiyas has a problem, and some of those details will come inshallah. But before that, just try to understand how this religion really is. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent you the Quran and messenger. And the teachings basically are enough for the guidance of the people until the day of Qiyamah. There's nothing missed out. What you need really is to use the tools properly to get understanding. For example, when I said to you, when your child learns language, time comes when he has learned enough examples, after that he can use any sentence. He can make his own sentences. So though his life is much bigger, and he's going to use many, many more sentences than he learned, but he'll not have a problem. So similarly in the life, there will be many, many cases, in maybe much bigger than the Quran. But what Quran has teach you, that's enough for all those things. So for example, if the Quran actually teaches how to pray, for example, let me come from the language. If you learn the language, that isma fi inna is mansub and khabar is marfu. Inna zaidan qa'imun. And you learn 10, 20 examples. Then you can make millions of examples by the Qiyas. This Qiyas does not mean really what you have done. The grammar was incomplete, and grammar only actually has got 1% of the whole language. No, actually rules are so general. Now once you learn in ism fi naid mansub and khabar marfu, you can apply it to millions of sentences, not even one sentence. So when you say khamr is haram, this one verse. But 10, 20 drinks which have the same problem, it applies to all of them. You can't say really Quran only taught you 1/10 of the religion, and then most of the things you can't from Qiyas. No, it basically this is how things are. What Quran has taught really is that's what the meaning was. That you implement, apply to everything else. That what also have been misunderstood by many usuliyin who come from the al-Kalam background. They're misunderstood. Actually, it's very similar to economics. People of economics also, they say same things. They basically always say that the resources, are, scarce, they're very little, and needs of the people are unlimited. The economics basically is how to find the balance between, limited resources and unlimited needs of the people. That's what people think in economics. That's what people think. And that actually exactly same thing has been done by the people in Islamic economics, big people. They don't understand it is kufr really. It is ungratefulness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you think really that He created you, but He did not created fulfill your need properly. He's not your Rabb. What He has created in the universe is more than the need of the people. Just need to understand properly. But that actually first thing they learn in economics is this thing. That what many usuliyin actually, Imam al-Haramain, I will come to him, and not only him actually, people have been saying this thing. Certainly, it's not true. It's not that Quran and Sunnah are only one touch. It's basically saying like, see why the book is only 1% of the Arabic language. No, it covers everything in the Arabic language. It does not leave anything. So, Quran and Sunnah don't leave anything. So the first thing try to understand really is that what usul al-fiqh is. Usul al-fiqh is not that you start making claim that Quran and Sunnah does not actually answer all the questions. Now you have got certain truths which answer every question, independent of Quran and Sunnah. That's not truly. What usul al-fiqh is the tools which help you to understand the Quran and Sunnah in such a way that they answer every question. You learn really how to get an answer from the Quran and Sunnah. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, He said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul. Simple matter. Obey Allah and obey the Messenger. Every single matter, that's what you need to do. Wa ulil amri minkum. And then those who are experts, or those in charge of your command, like in the fiqh, fuqaha, in the politics, politicians, into ulil amri minkum. When you are making effort to understand what Allah said, when you are making effort to understand what the Messenger said, when you are making effort to obey the ulul amr, sometimes dispute will arise. I think this is what Quran said, and you said this is what Quran said. So when dispute arises, what should do? فَإِن تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ. If you have dispute, then refer your dispute, your differences to Allah's Messenger. See really who has support from Allah's Messenger. Don't refer just to your madhhab. Where you need to refer? Just don't say really, we have difference, let's see what ulama of Deoband say. What Salafi scholars say. This is never has been taught by the Quran and Sunnah. What Allah is teaching you that when difference arises, what happens is you have to refer back to Allah and His Messenger. And the Quran says, In kuntum tu'minuna billah wal yawmil akhir. If you believe in Allah and the last day, that's what you need to do. Reference is never to anybody else. Reference is always where when dispute happens, refer back to the Quran and Sunnah. ذَلِكَ خَيْرٌ. This is better, wahsan, good, ta'weelan, to find the reality, to find the truth, to come back to truth. This is the best way. If you want to get the truth, real truth, this is the way you need to do. If you are more interested in your own group, your own sectarian interest, then it will not happen. But if you want to find the truth, that's what you need to do. Ibn Hajar al-Ghahiri, in his Al-Ahkam, he mentioned this verse, and then he said very nice thing really. He said, فَنَظَرْنَا فِي هَذَا الْآيَةِ فَوَجَدْنَاهَا جَامِعَةً لِكُلِّ مَا تَكَلَّمَ النَّاسُ فِيهِ أَوَّلُهُمْ عَنْ آخِرِهِمْ مِمَّا أَجْمَعُوا عَلَيْهِ وَاخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ. He said, when we looked in this verse of the Quran, we found that this verse of the Quran includes every single thing that the fuqaha have discussed, or anybody has discussed. From the beginning to the end, anybody discuss any matter, this verse actually covers all of them, whether they agree or whether they differ. It's true, really. All the things on which jurists agree actually in this verse. Where they disagree, it also in this verse. Al-ahkam wal-ibadat allati shara'aha Allahu azza wa jal. All the rulings and all the way of the worships, anything that Allah has made, la yashiddu anha shay'un min dhalika. Nothing really is left out from this verse. This verse makes everything very clear. Then he said, after the mentioning the verse of Surah Al-Ma'idah, Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum, though actually you have different meaning of that verse, I'll explain maybe some other time. But anyway, he said, فَأَيْقَنَّا أَنَّ الدِّينَ قَدْ كَمُلَ وَتَنَاهَا. After this verse, we believe that religion has become complete and ended. وَكُلُّ مَا كَمُلَ فليس لأحد أن يزيد فيه ولا أن ينقصه منه ولا أن يبدله. If something is complete, then nobody can add. If complete, how can you add something? Something complete, nothing can be added. You can't take out anything because it's complete. Otherwise, you make it incomplete, and you cannot change it. Complete, perfect. You can't change it. فصح بهذا الآية يقينا أن الدين كله لا يؤخذ إلا عن الله عز وجل ثم على لسان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. So from this verse become very clear, religion only will be taken from Allah. Because He is the one who completed. And on the tongue of the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم, فهو الذي يبلغ إلينا أمر ربنا عز وجل. Because the Messenger is the one who conveyed to us the command of our Lord, وَنَهْيَهُ, his forbiddance, وَإِبَاحَتَهُ, and what he allowed. لَا مُبَلِّغَ إِلَيْنَا شَيْئًا عَنِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى أَحَدٌ غَيْرُهُ. Nobody has got duty of tabligh from Allah except him. Nobody conveys to us the message of Allah in the Amr, in the Nahi, in all those details except the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Meaning is, Allah did not choose anybody after him to become messenger. Nobody. Whether Aristotle, Ibn Sina, Farabi, Ibn Arabi, Sufi, or Abu Hanifa, and Malik, and Shafi, none of them have been chosen to receive the message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَهُوَ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامُ لَا يَقُولُ شَيْئًا مِنْ عِنْدِ نَفْسِهِ. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam never spoke anything out of his desire. Never happened. لكن عن ربه تعالى. Only on conveying the message of his Lord. ثم على ألسنة أولي الأمر منا. Then أولي الأمر, they are the one who have to explain. فهم الذين يبلغون إلينا جيلا بعد جيل ما أتى به رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وليس لهم أن يقولوا من عند أنفسهم شيئا أصلا. And these people, they convey the message of Allah and His Messenger one generation after the other generation. هذه صفة الدين الحق الذي كل ما عداه فباطل وليس من الدين. This is the description of the true religion, which is true, and anything other than that is false, and it is not from the religion. That what we need to understand from very beginning really. Then we understand the purpose of usul fiqh. Purpose of usul fiqh is not really to add anything to the religion. It is not really to change anything. It is not to take out anything. This never has been the purpose of usul fiqh. Usul fiqh simply basically this religion is complete in the Quran and Sunnah. You need to understand the Quran and Sunnah in such a way they can provide for you guidance for all the new things that happen in this world. As you learn grammar in such a way that you can make any expression. That's what learning of grammar is. Once you learn Arabic grammar, then you can make any sentences. If you cannot make sentences, then there is a problem. Then you need to learn more and more. So what you need to really, usul fiqh basically providing with the tools which can enable you to understand the Quran and Sunnah in proper detail, and then it will be helpful you to understand any new cases. If your understanding changes the Quran, it's not usul fiqh. Usul fiqh never means that. Or if actually take out, decrease something, or increase something in the religion, then basically you are not using proper tool. It is false. Truth is what Quran and Sunnah. Like, if for example, if I use a sentence and goes against the Arabic grammar, then it is not Qiyas. I cannot say I'm making Qiyas. This Qiyas is useless. Because everybody will say you don't know Arabic grammar. You did not learn properly. Any Qiyas which changes the religion, it can't be Qiyas. It is simply misunderstanding. As we don't allow Qiyas like that in the language, similarly, we cannot allow a Qiyas like that in Islam, in the religion. Meaning is, it is mistake. Is it clear to everybody? Now, one thing in usul fiqh is, which also needs to be understood before coming to the concept of ijma. Then I don't want to teach you all the usul fiqh details, but it is really important to understand how to understand the Quran and Sunnah. The most part of usul fiqh is those techniques, which are providing those tools which help you how to get the meanings from the Quran and Sunnah. We discuss am and khas, mutlaq and muqayyad, mushtarak and muawwal, and all those things. Though even those concepts, certainly I believe there have been mistakes or misunderstanding to them, but I don't have time to explain those things. But anyway, you need to understand those things. Ibn Khaldun, rahimahullah ta'ala, and also people before that, they have been complaining that usul al-fiqh has been very heavily influenced by kalam. What actually happened that what you need to understand. You know what the grammar is. You know how you make grammar. Grammar is based on a very simple material, what you call istiqra. Istiqra is induction. Meaning is you gather enough examples on basis of which you can understand the patterns of the language. You have got hundreds of examples when Arab people make isma finna mansub. That is istiqra. When you did all the examples, it is enough example to basically to ensure for you that in isma finna in Arabic language is mansub. Enough example that khabara finna is marfu. Enough example. That's what you do. Meaning is whenever you make usul for the language, that's grammar, you base on istiqra. You get examples and you make like that. That's what you do really. For every language, same thing. If you're writing grammar for Urdu language, you need to do istiqra of Urdu usage. How Urdu people, classical, real people whose language actually trust. If you want to write grammar for English language, you have to really find out what are the periods of English language when actually it is really authentic language. Then you study their usage and then you find the patterns and make the grammar. That's what you need to do. That's what usul al-fiqh is. You know, so usul al-fiqh, basically what you need to do is study the Quran and Sunnah properly and study that how the Prophet ﷺ and how his companions, they have been deriving the rulings from the Quran and Sunnah. Learn those techniques properly and understand them. That's what will usul al-fiqh. Is it clear? Based on what? Istiqra. Usul will be based on the istiqra. You know, anything. For example, if you want to know the habits of Indian people living in England, what their habits are, in eating, drink, anything, you need to basically collect data about Indian people in those habits, enough data which can give you the pattern. If it is not proper data, then it will not give you the pattern for anything, whatever, even actually plants. If you want to understand how the plants work really, you have to have proper study of the same plant in different environments, how they behave. You have to learn these things. So you know the patterns from studying, juziyat, particulars, again, many juziyat, that was istiqra. Then you get the pattern. That what is usul al-fiqh. Meaning is you study really that how the Prophet understood the Quran. How his companions understood the Quran. Whenever a new case comes, how they give fatwa, how they find the connection. In the Quran, the verses about inheritance are very few. But on the basis of these few verses, how the companions were able to give fatwa for any complicated case of inheritance. What they did really. What are the those cases where they agreed? What are the cases where Ibn Mas'ud differ from Zayd ibn Thabit, or Zayd ibn Thabit differs from Uthman and Umar? What are the cases? To understand where they agree and understand where they differ. Once you know what they agree, that will be very helpful. When you also know when they disagree, it also will be helpful for you. So you can see in this matter, there could be two different. Like for example, difference between the school of Kufa and Basra in the grammar. So difference can happen. In India, we have difference also in Urdu grammar between two schools, like Lucknow and Delhi. So that can happen. There's no harm in that. Difference will happen. But you need to understand, on the base of the example, enough data. That what actually we call usul al-fiqh ala tariqat al-fuqaha. Usul al-fiqh ala tariqat al-fuqaha. Basically, is to study the examples of understanding of the Quran and Sunnah in the early generation. By Sahaba, by Tabi'in, and by people like that, how they understood, find the pattern, and then put them together. To making kulliyat from the juz'iyat. You make major rules, or you find the patterns from the istiqra. That what is actually when we say usul al-fiqh ala tariqat al-fuqaha, that is the meaning is. Is it clear? That actually also is the same thing usul hadith. That's what should be. If you want to really know what sahih hadith means, right way is to study the use of the word sahih in hadith by all the major experts. When Ahmad Hanbal says sahih, when people like him say sahih, Bukhari says sahih, Muslim says sahih, when all these people say this hadith is sahih, then think really, all those hadiths which they say sahih, what they have got in common. it will help you to develop really the pattern, to find the pattern, and then you define the hadith sahih. It will happen. Is it clear? The usul al-fiqh basically of the fuqaha is based on the istiqra, induction, meaning is, gathering enough information from the examples of the understanding of the Sahaba and Tabi'in of the Quran, that is usul al-fiqh of the fuqaha. What Greek philosophy has done? Greek philosophy is not go to particulars. Actually, the people, clever people, they are bored of the particular things. They don't like particular things. Their mind always goes big thing, big picture, something big. So they imagine really what something should be. Because they've experienced in something, their mind works, what should be really. If you study a text, how you understand it? What should be in your mind really? So they will think really, oh, if a text is coming from God and he used the word general, it is general. It must be general. And because the book of God is actually qat'i, then it is general, it is qat'i. If somebody wants to make it a khas, specific meaning, then he should bring an argument equal to that. So takhsis only can happen from the Quran or from the Sunnah mutawatira or this and that. That what. So you sit in a room, in an office, in the University of Oxford, and then sit. I am professor. I want to make rules how to understand the Quran. So what you're doing is, you are not going to read the examples of Sahaba and Tabi'in. Too boring for you, these details. You are clever man. You just make yourself. Those usul, how you understand any language. When people study, how we understand. Let's make this thing. When people use amr, meaning command. If Allah says something, he is commander. So when he uses amr, it must be obligatory. When he forbids, it must be haram. All the time. If you want to have another meaning, you need to another. Meaning it, I'm just sitting in a room and make all those rules from my own learning, without going to particulars. That's how the Greek philosophy is. When they made logic, that's how they made logic. It does not mean they don't know anything about the world. They know really, but they are not worried really to know everybody's uses. They're clever people. They think how she should. Their mind goes to kulliyat, not to jizat, not particulars. They always are concerned about that. So the Greek logic and philosophy, when they are translated to Islam, they influence Muslim philosophers. Then from Muslim philosophers, came the group of the Mu'tazila. And Mu'tazila, because they're Muslims, and defenders of Islam, so their influence was much more than Muslim philosophers. Ibn Sina and Farabi, they did not influence Islamic thoughts as much as Mu'tazila did. Because Muslim philosophers, as you can see really, people did not connect them to Islam. They thought they are extension of same Greek tradition. Ibn Sina and Farabi are more associated with Aristotle rather than to Abu Hanifa and Malik and Shafi. So it was easier for the people to leave them, not to be influenced by Ibn Sina and Farabi, But when Mu'tazila came, it's a different matter. They are the people, defenders of Islam, champions, and debates against Christians and Hindus and this and that. So they became, deeply rooted in Islam. And the techniques were very developed and highly, scholarly and, rational. But they're coming from some tradition, all the kulliyat and not juziyat, making those things. So they basically set down how, in the kalam, they make rules that how things should be. In the fiqh, they made rule how things should be, how the pattern should be. They made this thing. Certainly, then Abu Hasan al-Ash'ari and all those people, they came and they differ from Mu'tazila, because the influence of Ahlul Hadith and this and that. So anyway, a compromise was done. Meaning they took something from Mu'tazila. At the same time, they also, did not leave their earlier salaf. So something between. So Ash'ari school came and Maturidi school came and this and that. But it became, very fashionable to discuss those things. It is very good, in an argument, the best thing to argue. So they make good arguments. So usul al-fiqh basically was done earlier by Mu'tazila. Mu'tazila are the one who, as in kalam, they are pioneers. I don't mean the usul fiqh of the fuqaha. There is by done Abu Hanifa, student Imam Shafi. But very quickly in the 3rd, 4th century, Mu'tazila, the usul fiqh became more dominant. So then Ash'ari people, because Ash'ari people are debating the Mu'tazila, when you debate a community, you need to learn their techniques, their arguments. And you want to basically show them that I know this more than you. So you want to basically compete them in that field. So they become influenced. Debaters always are influenced, always. They debate, but they are also influenced by their opponents. All the time keep happening. So they become influenced by them. After that, Ash'ari, or basically Shafi usul fiqh became very much influenced by Mu'tazila, especially Baqillani and then Imam al-Haramain, then Imam Ghazali, then Razi. Usul al-fiqh basically, Shafi school became usul al-fiqh of the Mu'tazila basically. Very little differences. That's what happened. All kalam. It all how should be, not what is it, how should be. Very little example because they're not bothered about examples. They keep discussing haqiqah and majaz and all those things in such detail just from their mind. But very little, they don't have examples. Very rarely. They are clever people. Then they influence everybody. Though Hanafi jurists were not so much concerned about kalam, but problem really is, if you live in Baghdad, and in Baghdad there are these big people, Baqillani, and these big people who debate, you have to make your technique, improve your techniques to become like them. To Hanafi people like Jassas, Razi, and all those people, they again started making the usul effect, coming similar to that, opposing them, differing from them, proving themselves. If you want to justify your techniques, you have to basically bring the same arguments. They start the same argument. Though initially it was not that. Hanafi usul al-fiqh still was little influence, but still they remain. Meaning it, usul al-fiqh basically after the 3rd century of Hijrah, it became more theoretical. It is not like grammar of the language. It basically became how you should understand a text. Their concern is not about how Sahaba and Tabi'een and Abu Hanifa and Malik understood the text, Quran. This is not the concern. The concern, this is book of Allah, how we should understand it. What should be a rule from them? What are the tools to understand a text? They develop those tools from their mind because they think they know in the human text. To that how they developed. It become more ideal, theoretical, ideal tools. Usul al-fiqh basically became kalam. It became irrelevant to the fiqh because fuqaha don't understand this thing. They don't need this. So you can see really two different things. You could be usuli but not faqih. You are faqih but not usuli. Fuqaha don't know this usul. They are in different words. Usuliyin don't know the fiqh. They are different words. Or even those who know, when they write fatwa, they write as a faqih. When they discuss usul al-fiqh, they're usuli. You can say Ghazali. Ghazali in his books of the fiqh is a faqih. When Mustasfa is a usuli, nothing matches. There's no connection. When you study Imam Shafi'i, al-Risala and al-Ulum, they match. Because they're same thing. Al-Risala actually is just find the major patterns from Kitab al-Ulum. To al-Risala al-Ulum, they agree. They meet each other. Similarly, discussions of Abu Hanifa's student Muhammad and Abu Yusuf, all their, what is related to them about usul fiqh, it matches what they have in their fiqh. But Imam Ghazali and Imam al-Haramain, their fiqh and their usul don't match. Completely different matter. Because usul fiqh became detached from the fiqh. It all become more theoretical. So, this is what has been understood by everybody, and people realize really usul fiqh become lost. Until now the case is the same thing really. If you go to any mufti, any madrasa, any judge, any court, nobody uses usul al-fiqh. When I write in Arabic language, I use Arabic grammar. I have not Arabic grammar and I use that. To Arabic grammar to me as relevant as possible. And sometimes when I'm doubtful, I refer to the books and then I learn from them more and then use it. To Arabic grammar to me really is always relevant. Arabic grammar is basically proper usul of the Arabic language. It never kalam. The later kalam came, but still the main rules remain the same thing. Usul al-fiqh is not like that. When I want to derive a ruling from the Quran and Sunnah, usul al-fiqh does not help me. I don't do this. Then what the jurists do in our time, not only our time, after 3rd, 4th century of Hijrah, what jurists do? If you look in the books of the fiqh, in Hanafi madhhab, Maliki madhhab, Shafi madhhab, Hanbali madhhab, you don't find use of usul fiqh. But what you find the use actually is Nadir. Something parallel to that. Meaning it, if they have a new case, they keep looking, has there been any similar case discussed by the earlier jurist? And then basically they benefit from that. They don't go for the usul fiqh. They have developed some qawaid al-fiqhiyya, for example, some major or those qawaid which can help them, but not usul fiqh. Because usul al-fiqh basically becomes just theoretical, it becomes very little relevance to the fiqh. It is very, very harmful, no doubt really. Until now, this is the case, I tell you. Even for example, when people are discussing all these things in Islamic finance and all those things, people don't go to usul fiqh. What they go to is nadhair. Nadir is the only that collects in the court in the in the secular state is the same thing. They look at the examples, precedents of the earlier jurists and all those things, and that's what they use. So this is actually what Ibn Khaldun and people have been saying about the difference between tariqa fuqaha and tariqa mutakallimin. I don't want to read what he has written. I know it will be long reading, but I think I have summarized enough. And it is, if you want to look, it is volume number 2 and page number 201 of the Muqaddimah. But actually, Muqaddimah has got printed so many different editions, so I don't know which one using. It is easy to find really, because Muqaddimah, he discussed ulum. So he also discussed the history of the ulum, fiqh and Quran and all those things. So they will be heading after usul fiqh. Just look in that chapter, you will find actually all these things in detail. That's what he has done. Now the problem really is this mutakallimin method became really dominant in the mind of the great jurists. Even people like Ghazali. When Ghazali writes al-Mustasfa, so he writes there Muqaddimah of the Mantiq, Greek logic. And what actually amazing thing he said really, which are not expected from someone like him, what he said, وَمَا لَا, it is in al-Mustasfa, volume number 1, page number 45. He said, وَمَا لَا يُحِيطُ بِهَا أي بمقدمة علم المنطق. If anybody does not understand properly this muqaddimah of the mantiq, does not know logic, فَلَا ثِقَةَ بِعُلُومِهِ أَصْلًا, then you cannot trust in his knowledge. His knowledge, his whatever he knows is unreal, reliable. You cannot rely on him. Then I commented, this is my comment, قلت فإذن لا ثقة لعلوم الصحابة والتابعين وأتباعهم وأبي حنيفة ومالك والشافعي وابن حنبل. Then we can't trust all these people because they did not know any logic. This is so much really that Imam al-Haramain writes in his books more than once that Abu Hanifa did not know any usul, neither little, neither plenty. Tell me if Abu Hanifa, Imam Shafi, his Imam al-Haramain, Imam Shafi, he said, "An-nasu fil fiqh ayyan ala Abi Hanifa." People in the fiqh, they depend on Abu Hanifa. And now Abu al-Ma'ali comes and he says Abu Hanifa has no knowledge of the usul fiqh. Tell me what is happening. It is certainly actually meaning of usul fiqh has changed. The usul fiqh that Imam al-Haramain discussed is completely different usul fiqh. Certainly Abu Hanifa has no knowledge, no need to know that. How can Abu Hanifa know that? And why? What difference it make to know this or not for fiqh? What Abu Hanifa knew, that was relevant to the fiqh. What Imam al-Haramain knows, it is something different. So Imam al-Haramain is so proud. He's against Hanafi madhhab. He is one of the great critical of Hanafi madhhab and Maliki madhhab. So he said Abu Hanifa did not know any usul. Sometimes you say, okay, he knew something, but he used the word neither little, neither plenty. Same Malik. He criticized Malik as well. So, they don't know any usul. This actually what happening. Anyway, so I'll come actually, even among Shafi people, there have been some people who are reasonable. They understood the problem and they really are very deeply hurt by this development in Shafi madhab. Shafi madhab really is responsible for corrupting the usul fiqh. It's a big statement, but there are no harm. I don't know if there's Shafi, any Shafi or not. But you can see I'm not against Shafi or Malik or Hanbali. But this is really real fact really in the history of usul fiqh. Though Imam Shafi, the first person who wrote this amazing risala, but then the Shafi are the first people who left risala. They don't actually follow risala. If you read Mustasfa has do nothing really with our risala Imam Shafi. Actually the same thing. When Ghazali said, he writes Tahafutul Falasifa, criticize philosopher. Then he said, I wrote Maqasidul Falasifa. So you understand the concept properly, then you understand my refutation. But if you read both of them, no relevance. Tahafut discusses something else, Maqasid discusses something else. There's no relevance at all really. If you learn Maqasid, you will not know Tahafut. Maqasid discuss other things, you discuss something else, and you see you wrote Maqasid, so your people understand Tahafut. No relevance. They are two different things. Everybody says, people who have been studying, they can see. I have taught actually, so many times, I can see. There's no relevance. That actually what happens, what Imam Shafi wrote, nothing to do with actually what Imam Ghazali writes in Al-Mustasfa, Imam al-Haramain in his books. They're not the same thing. Anyway, now time for the break, for the questions. If you have any question, please ask. Use the speaker. Yeah, mic.
Jazakumullah khaira, Sheikh. Uh, I'm Shafi'i, Sheikh, and I don't have any issue with your statement just now.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Actually, I have one question with regard to the approach of usul fiqh, like you mentioned just now, tariqah fuqaha, tariqah mutakallimin. Just to seek your view, Sheikh, because if we study the literatures on the development of usul fiqh, there is also a new tendency to jamma, to try to harmonize between these two approaches. And one of the, or maybe some of the examples of the book is Al-Ihkam by Ibn Sa'ati and Badi'un Nizam by Al-Bazdawi. So they try to combine between mutakallimun and fuqaha, because they can see the advantages of each of these tariqah. And then also to seek your view, Sheikh, because now some of the contemporary jurists introduce another approach with using maqasid sharia as the tariqul istinbat. You try to deduce rulings using the theory of maqasid sharia. Just to seek your view on this.
You know, this Jama is not something new. This actually Hanafi madhab is the best example for that. So Hanafi madhab was not like Shafi madhab. Shafi madhab completely became kalam. So in usul fiqh, Shafi madhab, if you read really Ahmadiyya people like that, arguments after arguments, really nothing to. If you want to know the madhab which actually combined between both approaches, Hanafi madhab. Hanafi madhab is the best example in all the books. You know whether it's Jassas al-Razi, Usul al-Srakhsi, Usul al-Bazdawi, all these books they take from the earlier jurists, Imam Shafi, and all those that thing. Actually, Hanafi people are more Shafi than Shafi people. Hanafi Usul al-Fiqh basically is more similar to Imam Shafi al-Risala than in. They also, but at the same time, because they had to debate with the Shafi people, so and also with mutakallimin, so they got information from that. So Hanafi Usul al-Fiqh is the best example how to combine between both approaches. But this actually is a problem really. The way it should be different, not to combine between them. The way should be that you understand the Usul al-Fiqh of the Abu Hanifa and Malik and Shafi. Write that, discuss that. Then you can use the new techniques of your time to present that, more for presentation. But if you accept them and combine them, suddenly you are going to deviate it. And that deviation happens in Hanafi madhab. Though in Hanafi madhab is the one who jama, but that happens. Because what happens is something becomes, people like, when I come to the real example like Ijma. Ijma, Hanafi madhab earlier was something else. But Ijma now in the usul fiqh is basically Ijma of the mutakallimin. So you can see, though they want to combine, but when combination happens, you can see one of them is more dominant. So Ijma at the moment really, in all the madhahib, is Ijma what has been discussed by mutakallimin, not what was the Ijma of the fuqaha that has become. Similarly, most discussion in the Am and Khas, in the Mutlaq and Muqayyad, in Mushtarak and Mu'awwal, in Amr and Nahi, most discussion in these matters and dalalat, most discussion they are coming from mutakallimin. Very little actually these details are from earlier people, and you can develop them from the examples. And also what happens when somebody else has done something, you are very quick to take a benefit from that rather than to develop your own thing. So for Hanafi people also it will become very easy to basically to benefit from Mu'tazila's patterns and from other people, and just to make like Imam Hanifa, when Abu Hanifa developed his fiqh, so then Sufyan Thawri and other people, they did not need to make effort. What they did really, they took it Abu Hanifa's fiqh and then they make their own fiqh by differing, wherever they want to differ, it becomes Sufyan Thawri's fiqh because something already has been done by someone. The usul al-fiqh was developed so nicely by Mu'tazila, and then then Ashari people came and they, no doubt, they have big contribution. Then Hanafi and Maliki and other people, they just borrow, somebody borrows more than the other, but that's what actually happened. Rather than making it, what they need to do really, if you want to benefit from way of the kalam, mutakallimin's way, the way is to take any other tool and then discuss really that how this tool is going to help to understand the way of Abu Hanifa and Malik and Shafi. They don't do this thing. They just apply the tool, whatever convenient to them. They apply. They are not discussing that. So my thinking really, the way of the Jama'ah is not useful. The way should be to make, like the Nahu of Sibwe, pure Arabic Nahu, purely. Well, later people, they become influenced by Greek philosophy to develop actually the way of the definition different from Sibwe. And a problem happened. Then some people want to combine between those. It doesn't work because there's no need to combination. You just need really to stuck with the a Sibwe. There's nothing, and you can't develop. You don't need to borrow from anywhere else. The way of definition, tarifat from mantiq. They're not so complete. They're not so good. They're very little need really. What need really is just make effort to understand how the earlier people understood the Quran and Sunnah. Whether you use Qiyas or Ijma, whatever you use, make very clearly. Then after that, in presentation, you can develop something. Presentation should be a kind to every time. But if you borrow the usul, problem will be there. But anyway, so I don't agree the way of the Jama. Those Jama actually happen. Jama happen actually by very early, by Hanafi people. Maqasid al-fiqh is actually, no doubt, worse than the way of the Jama. And that actually I have taught so many times in detail, but inshallah, when Qiyas will come, I'll explain to you that why the way of the Maqasid people is worse than that. Maqasid people actually have failed so much you cannot imagine. Maqasidi people making noise for 3 decades or more than that, in last 1 decade, so heavily, after making all the noise, until now they are not able to compile any book of the fiqh. They keep making all the noise, just keep discussing. Okay, then present something. Write a book of the fiqh. People of the kalam, mutakallimin, whatever, they did something. They wrote. So if you really think maqasid is the best, tool, method to compile the fiqh to be easier for the people, then do it. Write a book, complete, comprehensive book actually on Islamic fiqh. Like, you have got Mabsut al-Sarakhsi and Kitabul of Imam Shafi'i and this and that from so many people. Ghazali wrote a big book on the fiqh. Why these people are not able to write the whole complete fiqh, in the light of the maqasid until now? Other than discussing and arguing actually, same points again. You don't need to convince everybody. People will be convinced when you present your fiqh completely and comprehensively with proper arguments. And they can't do. Reason is because actually it has got many big problems. And which inshallah, maybe not today, tomorrow, when I'm discussing the Qiyas, I'll explain that. Because some of those things I really want to explain properly what are the real problem of the Maqasidi people.